the intro. We're going straight into this discussion. So if you guys follow me on Twitter, you know that I just finished A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas, and I've read the first 22 pages of this beast. Now, these two books came at the perfect time because this is a discussion I've wanted to have for a really long time. Sex in YA. Is it okay? Is it not okay? How is it okay? What is allowed in there? What are the limits? What are the boundaries? Now, I've heard that Sarah J. Maas specifically said that these books were new adult. They are not young adult. But guys, despite what she says, her publishing company, Bloomsbury is that, decided, look at this library sticker right here, big ass, fat ass YA on there. It is in the YA section. It's not in a section labeled new adult. There is no distinction. It's just simply someone throwing around a title saying it's okay that this is soft porn. It's for new adults, not young adults. But let me tell you, as a reader of someone who just goes to the young adult section, someone who's just heard that this book is good, that it's by Sarah J. Maas, someone who's read her other books before, I didn't know that I was going to pick up this book and be like, damn, bitch, your titties is on the screen, and I wasn't prepared for that. Like, I was not prepared for that. Ugh. Like, guys, I knew the second book had some sexual situations in it. I didn't know how to the extent. I was talking to Whitney, and she was like, girl, nothing's going to prepare you for this. And I was like, girl, I've been through some stuff. I know about stuff like that. I'll be prepared. And then this shit hit me in the first book, and I was like, girl, you ain't telling me nothing about the first book. And she was like, oh, I forgot it was in there because the second book. And I was just like, well, damn, checkmate, because this bitch was not prepared. And let me tell you, after reading the first 22 pages of the second book, I still wasn't fucking prepared for what was on those pages. So with that being said, let's go ahead and start talking about sex in young adult, sex in America specifically. So first I want to talk about why is it okay to have graphic violence in young adult, but not okay to have graphic sex? When sex is actually more natural, I would argue, than graphic violence. Like, 22 Ways to Kill a Man. Like, for example, why would I be way more comfortable watching Saw with my grandparents? But let somebody's titty show up on Game of Thrones, I'm gonna be like, oh, I'm out, peace, y'all. Like, why is that the case? Why can't I watch Daenerys be like, Khal Drogo, get down and let me show you how I throw it down? I would be like, no, I can't do this with my grandma. Oh, no. But let somebody, start quartering a bitch on Saw and doing all sorts of crazy stuff. Like, let me tell you, one Christmas, my granddad, he don't know how to work a remote. We were all watching Troy. You know that scene where Brad Pitt get it on with that priestess and he be just, and you even see his plump little ass and you're just like, every night I rest in my bed with hopes that maybe I'll get a chance to see you when I close my eyes. I've already seen this movie maybe 4 or 5 times. So I was waiting for this scene and I was like, I can't watch this in a room with 20 of my family members. That's fucking weird, right? Me and Brad Pitt, we go back, but I can't. No, we can't do that in front of my family, bruh. So my granddaddy picks up the remote because there are kids in the room. Meanwhile, I'm like 16 at this point or something, and I'm the oldest child in the room. So he picks up the remote because he's gonna fast forward this bit. He ends up slow-moing it, rewinding it, pausing it on Brad Pitt's ass for 4 seconds, slow-moing it through it. We watched that scene 4 or 5 times before we were able to snatch the remote for him and be like, bruh. Bruh, just give it up. You can't do this. Why is that scene so profoundly fucked up, but all of the violence in Troy is perfectly fine? Now, this always boils down to societal perceptions of sex as being perverse versus anything else. It is possibly the most perverse thing that we can do, we can witness, etc., etc. That's why we don't talk about it with other people. As a teen, you aren't considered a sexual being. That is considered something highly taboo. You could have a girl who is pregnant, who's having a baby, pushing a baby in a stroller, and people still don't want to hear that she had sex. Actually talking to them about sex, about how normal those feelings are, but other outlets for it, or proper healthy ways to do it, or if he's in a committed relationship with someone else and it's consensual, how to go about doing that in a safe place, environment. Those are topics you don't talk about because no, they just shouldn't have sex. But why is that? Obviously, societal wise, we don't want people having children at such a young age, because as a parent, I do know that there is a certain level of maturity that you need and a certain foundation and relationship that you need before you have a child, because that shit will drive you insane. It will go up in flames real quick. Even grown-ass adults can't do this shit right. And so if we push all that stuff aside and just look at teens having sex as, it makes things difficult, then we can understand how difficult of a conversation it is to have about a healthy sex life when you don't want said person having sex. But we still know that they do, right? That's why we have sex ed in school. Now, some people's sex ed classes just be like, don't do it. The end. Get your A for abstinence. And then some of them be like, condoms, condoms, condoms. Take them, you sick children. It's usually just about either being safe while you have sex, don't have babies while you have sex, and don't catch no herpes while you having sex. It's never about what a healthy sexual relationship feels like, what it looks like, what sex is like, how sex can be just completely fucked up. Even though you love that person, it could be like, just ain't trying to do it. Or it could be extremely fun and nice to do with a friend versus someone you're in a committed monogamous relationship with. Like, there are no conversations like that are being had. And I can understand that at the school level, that like borderlines on pedophilia, depending on what teachers be talking about. Some people can feel uncomfortable about that, which again goes to the societal perceptions. So let's talk about why people don't have this conversation in their homes with their children. Raise a hand. How many people here watching this had their parents talk to them about a healthy sexual relationship? And I'm talking about the teenage years, maybe 14 and up. How many of y'all was comfortable with that conversation? There's probably a few of you who are raising your hands because your parents are open. Sex isn't like this huge, like, perverse thing. It's just like, eating chocolate cake. You do it. It's fun. It's nice. Just, moderation. And just make sure your cake is made up of good ingredients and not that crazy shit that's just gonna, kill you. And probably a lot of us are like, bitch, I ain't even trying to say the S word from my parents, and I got 6 kids. Now, here is the problem with this and with sex in young adult books. Now, books aren't meant to teach us anything. However, we can learn from books, yeah? And by books, I mean fictional stories. Of course, there are books that you can learn from, like, don't be trying with it's called a textbook. Like, fuck you, obviously. Talking about fictional stories, we can honestly agree that fictional stories have progressed past this stage of simply being a route to teaching morals, right? Now they are just meant to entertain. They are meant to mimic Earth. Art has progressed from telling you what to do into mimicking what we do. I think that is a beautiful thing. Art shows humanity. Now, the problem I have with sex in YA isn't the sex in the book itself, especially this one where first 22 pages, like, bitch, but I was just like, oh shit, if I read this when I was 13, I would have learned some stuff. But like, it's not meant to teach me this stuff. Like, this book isn't meant to teach me what a healthy sexual relationship is, not how to pick somebody who's going to be good for me, because what the fuck does Sarah J. Maas know about my life and who's good for me or what a healthy sexual relationship looks like for me? And my point in that is that teens need to learn what a sexual healthy relationship is before they engage it in media. Please circle that. Go back, rewind, write it down, circle it, highlight it, save it, put it in your junk drawer. For when you have kids, pull that shit out. Because, again, teens, anyone who is a human being needs to learn what a healthy sexual relationship is before they engage it in the media. Media is not meant to teach us shit, people. I cringe every time I hear someone say, this is not a good example of a healthy relationship. Of course it's not. This is this bitch's life, and clearly she ain't even a healthy example of what a human being should be like. I mean, she doing a lot of crazy shit that I wouldn't do. So why then in turn do I expect her to have a healthy sexual relationship in which I or other teens could learn from? I said other teens like I'm a teen. What's wrong with me? If we think it's so bad for children to be raised by TV, why do we think it's okay for children to be raised by books? Why do we think that something so important and so vital in a relationship that this person can have with another person should be taught in a book or should only be shown in a book so that they can understand? No, that's just shit you need to learn from your parents. And if your parents aren't a good example of that, then we need to cultivate areas and places or, have text that is specifically made to help someone understand what that's like, to put together documentaries of different people in their healthy sexual relationships. That's when the nonfiction comes into hand. That's when looking at that stuff, not fiction. Fiction is meant to be just a capturing of humanity, of what it's like in the most authentic way possible, told from the point of view of a person who sees the world completely different than the rest of us. It is not meant to tell us, like, this is what love is like. Just because other people seem to like it, even though we're like, bitch, red flag. Nah, bro, it's rapey, girl. Red flags, run. Run to Six Flags, bitch, not the red flags. Just because we don't agree with it also does not mean that it's wrong for someone else. That's another issue that we have with society. We like to judge people and their personal sexual preferences, what they may enjoy, what they may not like. With all that being said, I understand where a lot of people are coming from, because we're looking at 14-year-olds who are reading this book and they're like, I need me a man that does this. And we're like, okay, girl, first I need you to know what you like, what you know to be safe for you before you seek out someone who is manipulative and dominant and aggressive. So I understand where people are coming from, because it does perpetuate a type of culture that isn't even understood. So I'm going to bring up one or two scenes that I know a lot of people had issues with in this book specifically. This is not too spoilery, so don't really worry about getting upset. But if you're really sensitive about spoiler stuff, just put it on me and come back later. So when our main character, Feyre, is told to stay in her room because the main dude, the beast, Tamlin, is going to be drunk on some fairy magic in which he becomes extremely rapey and has no sense of himself. He's just the beast at this point, even though I think he was a man. I don't know. I can't remember, and this makes me uncomfortable that I can't remember, because what if he was the beast? Ugh. But nonetheless, she was told by another character to stay in her room because he was going to get rapey and come after her, and nobody wanted that to happen. So stay in your fucking room, lock your door, don't come out until the sun comes up. What does this bitch do? I'm hungry. I need a piece of chocolate cake. So she goes down to the kitchen, and lo and behold, rapey ass dude comes out, and he's all like, girl, let me get a slice of that pie. And I was just like, bitch, you brought this on yourself. Why are you doing this to yourself? Now, I know a lot of you are going to stop and say, no, that's victim blaming. However, I honestly don't believe in this situation. Saying that Feyre brought this on herself is victim blaming. Victim blaming is when someone is living their own life. They may be dressed however they want to dress. They may decide to have a couple of drinks however they want to drink. And someone says, you got raped and it's your fault. No, the rapist is at fault here. And someone who's just living their life, doing their own thing, and someone roofies them, or this bitch has some terrible friends who just left her alone all drunk and sloppy looking, or this chick is just wearing an outfit that is cute and somebody decided it was cute enough for him to take off. That's not okay. That's never going to be okay. That is always the fault of the rapist. This situation with Feyre, this is literally like you saying, homegirl, don't go to that house over there, because you know what? I heard that dude over there, he said he wanted to rape you, that if he got you alone in a room, he was going to go at it and he was going to tear that ass up. And this chick says, I think I'm just going to go introduce myself. It's okay, I'll go by myself. Like, no, I just told you he was going to, this was a bad situation, not to go there. And she went there anyways. Now, however, if dude still rapes her, that makes him a rapist. He's still at fault. He's still the one who committed a crime, who did something horrific. It's just in this case as well, that bitch was stupid. So don't get me wrong. Victim blaming is bad, and a rapist is a rapist no matter what the scene of the events, no matter how it happened, no matter why it happened. Dude's still a fucking rapist, and dude still needs to go to jail. However, there are certain times when you can prevent these things. Like if someone says, don't go in there cause he gonna rape you. So Tamlin, even though he says, let me get a piece of that pie, what he really did was just sexually molest her. I felt like it was very clear that he wasn't going to, or that he had enough sense not to. I mean, he was still crazy, but he'd already like done it with some other chick, which, this book is messy. What a hot fucking mess. But the point here is that he did bite her on her neck, and he left a bruise in which she wore like a trophy, like, you know, he's a pig, everyone should pity me, look at my bruise that he left after he tried to like rape me. And I'm just gonna stop here and say that yes, this is unhealthy. That book right there, that's unhealthy. Nothing about that is healthy. No one should ever walk around with a bruise and be like, see that right there, that's what you did to me. You're still a good man, but that's what you did to me. Feel bad about it. Like, no, that's, like, no, that's not fucking healthy. That's not really romantic. There are better ways to be romantic and stuff. That's just volatile. It's a hostile situation. Now, does that mean that this is a bad book because it has this scene in it and he is still viewed by her as a good person? And I want to reiterate that. By her. Moss didn't put in an introduction and say, he is a good man. He is a great man, and no one should ever say anything otherwise. No, Feyre, this is in first person. This chick is unreliable. I am 100% tired, so tired of people getting confused with unreliable narrators, thinking that just because this person feels like they're a good person does not mean you should. You are not this narrator. I really want to emphasize that. So many people, especially since Twilight, have been inserting themselves into these female characters who ain't got no motherfucking sense. You should be yourself from the narrative. Just because this bitch is stupid does not mean that you're supposed to follow along with her. Like, no, I was reading Feyre like, bitch, I'm tired of you sometimes. I need to put you down because you was getting on my nerves, sneaking out and doing all sorts of stupid shit. At no point in time did I feel like Tamlin was a good, decent guy. Nah, he's obviously got ulterior motives, and he's weird, and he's beastie and shit. I don't know, I ain't feeling all that. Do I think he's a good guy just because Feyre still likes his ass? No. I think he's weird as fuck. Like, who wants to be fucked up with all that creepiness anyways? Now that I got that off my chest, I really want to point out that, guys, this book is not bad just because it shows that. I'm actually doing a review on this, maybe tomorrow, but this book really does show the consequences of these types of things, I think, really well in the scope of her perspective. But do remember that you can learn from books only if you choose to think about them subjectively and objectively. Only if you can set the book aside from yourself. You cannot learn from a book when you are the character in the book, and we are not meant to be these characters. These are just their lives being played out. That being said, what else do I have to say? Now, a second scene is when Feyre is like continuously night after night roofied by a dude. She's made to dance and wear paint. She looks all primal and stuff. He is essentially an evil character, yet his reasonings by the end of the book add more complexity besides he just has evil intentions. He actually has a lot more intentions than that. And I noticed a lot of people had issues with that. They thought that he was being shown in a good light. I would argue that he's just being shown in a more complex light. Does that make him a good person or a bad person? There is no such thing. There is no such thing as good person, bad person. We have to stop categorizing things like this. This isn't Harry Potter anymore. And even in Harry Potter, we have Snape, who we realize that there is a lot more moral ambiguity besides good and bad. That there is a lot more to people. This the guy who be roofing her, and like clearly he is using her for an ulterior motive that is completely shown by the end of the book. Does that mean that we can like him? That's up to you. If you like morally ambiguous dudes, then like him. If you got a problem with that, then piss on him. Like, nah. Is Feyre allowed to like him? Yes. That bitch is stupid. Like, I don't know why you guys would think anything else otherwise. Clearly, she does not know what healthy relationships are. I mean, let's look at her family life. She comes from a family where she is the youngest person in that family, yet they all rely on her to do all of the work. Fuck healthy sexual relationships. This bitch ain't never had a healthy relationship in her life. So honestly, if we want to be able to have sex in young adult books, if we want to be able to showcase this, I think a lot of people have to be okay with it not just being healthy sexual relationships. And I think we have to have discussions and conversations about why it's not healthy, why it is healthy. Not damn a book just because it is unhealthy and just because a lot of people's reactions are very startling to us. There are lots and a ton of different types of sexual beings out there. People who like to do all sorts of weird shit. In fact, think of the weirdest fucking thing you can think of right now. Guarantee you somebody in the world likes to do that shit. Does that mean that we have to judge them? If it involves corpses, yes. If it just involves two consensual people and they like to do some weird fucking kinky ass shit, then no, I ain't judging nobody. That's them. They like to do that sort of weird ass stuff. If people are in unhealthy relationships, are we allowed to judge them? I do, honestly. I'm not even gonna lie. I be judging people and they're in healthy relationships. However, that does not mean that we get to condemn them. Lots of people have to grow and mature. That takes time and experience. Just like with books. Feyre has to grow. If she doesn't, we can all call her stupid. That does not mean that the book is bad. I honestly think that we really have to separate ourselves from books so that we can have these types of situations in books. But first and foremost, teens need to have an understanding of what a sexually healthy relationship is from their parents or the homes or people that they honestly look up to, mature individuals who they can talk to openly about that before they are exposed to it in media. Because Like, I ain't trying to have Game of Thrones raising my child. So why would I allow A Court of Mist and Fury, page 22, to teach my child anything about sex? So guys, I want to know what you think. What do you think about sex in young adult books? What do you think about, if you've read this book, how the sexual relationships were portrayed in this? So I just really want to know your guys' thoughts. Just leave them all down below. Let me know what you think. Hit me up, whatever. Probably going to bring this up again when I review A Court of Thorns and Roses. So just wait for that. Let's talk about it because, whoa, mind blown. I'm all over the place with this too. So I'll see you in the review. TTYL, ta for now. Bye!